so we can.
Sure. So we have, now that we have two instrument approaches into Petaluma, we have a GPS that comes straight in from roughly San Pablo Bay, about 11 miles from the airport. We also have a VOR, which is considered to be a non-precision approach that starts over the Skaggs Island VOR, which is in the vicinity of Napa Airport. With the advent of the GPS approach, just yesterday, aircraft came up from San Carlos. I watched it on FlightAware. Came up from San Carlos, had some radar vectors, got vectored to the, I think it's called Givli, out there right at the edge of the bay, and then they did the approach in VFR conditions. And then they departed, and they turned out over town below the 1600 and continued down out toward the south. So those approaches, people doing that, and what I'm going to call taking the right of way, they'll say, I'm on a 5-mile final, 10-mile final, whatever the case may be, and continuing on when there is a VFR pattern established in VFR conditions. And like this gentleman, he said, I'm IFR. Well, in fact, he wasn't IFR because he was talking on the Common Traffic Advisory frequency. He wouldn't have been doing that if he was truly IFR. And then he bugged out. The whole thing was done in VFR conditions. VFR pattern was established. There was multiple aircraft in the pattern, and that sets the precedent as to what's supposed to happen. And IFR traffic is supposed to get in line and conform to what everybody else is doing. So there's lots of room to educate here. There's also lots of misinformation out there. And there's lots of resources. We have the AIM, you have the advisory circulars, you have the FARs, and all these publications lead to some gray areas. And hopefully we can perhaps straighten some of that out. I think that part of our education would be to, once we've talked about this and thought this through, outreach to some of these large flight schools and say, hey, you know, this is a concern. This is happening here at Petaluma. You know, this is what the AIM says. This is what advisory circular says. Please follow these. Don't just do what you want to. And I would cite the fact that last week, myself and a client, we almost got run over. We had a legal near miss. A near miss is categorized within 500 feet from aircraft to aircraft. This guy came within 100 feet of us on the downwind, almost took us all out, right there over Adobe Road. So it was an actual, for real, near miss. And this guy is flying a high-performance airplane, going like stink, not looking out the window, looking at his, screens in his high-tech airplane, and he almost plowed us. Well, had he entered perhaps on a 45, he just flew right into the pattern from basically kind of a halfway overhead into the pattern. Anyways, the bottom line is we have a number of high-performance airplanes just doing whatever the heck they want, and this has ramped up exponentially since the advent of the GPS approach. When we didn't have a deep GPS approach, these were few and far between. And half the people don't even know what the legal minimum altitudes are as far as cloud clearances and whatnot due to what kind of airspace we're in, right? So we're in echo airspace on the downwind. 1,100 feet, add 5 to that, that's 16. That's your base for your ceiling. You can talk to the majority of the people, they don't understand that. Oh, we're in Gulf airspace. I can do whatever I want, mile clear clouds. Well, below 700 feet, yes, you are. Anyways, there needs to be, in my opinion, there needs to be some education and some outreach to a number of different entities so we don't wind up with, an incident, because no one wants to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ashton. Okay, I have another speaker here. It's Mr. Milne. Is that correct?
Chair, in the interest of fairness, can we provide this speaker with 8 minutes like the last speaker? Is it?
Certainly.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. I'll quickly credential myself. My name is Harley Milne. I'm a instrument-rated general aviation pilot working towards a commercial, especially well known for being an ultralight pilot. across the country and have set a couple of records for the activities that I've been involved with. And I also happen to be a 107 pilot, which is how I make a living. My reason for being here today is the Petaluma Airport introduced card access last year, and in so doing, modified the accessibility for ultralight pilots in particular who need to be able to access the field with their vehicles to be able to unload and actually conduct those flights and then be able to depart. With those changes, there have been several challenges which we've tried to make some headway with the airport manager, Mr. Cohen, and unfortunately there is a roadblock there that we need to have addressed much more greatly. So with that, I would like to read just a couple of these points and answer any questions towards the end of that, if that's okay. So as I mentioned, prior to the airport switching to keycard access, ultralight pilots and members of our group were able to access the airports with their vehicles and parked in a designated location and conduct flights freely without any need for direct contact with the staff of the airport. And that has been going on for many years, even prior to my access some 10 years back. Since the airport switched access without engagement of pilots who would be affected by this change, using federal funding, I might add, it modified the access and basically required that access would only be gained to the airfield through pedestrian access, which for ultralight vehicles that are slightly larger, that's simply an unworkable ability and would be in total violation of the FAA funding obligations. So upon complaints to the airport manager, he eventually conceded under duress and provided temporary access codes, which I've personally made use of several times since flying out of Sonoma to Oshkosh last year for the EAA Adventure event. And in recent times, I have actually acquired a new vehicle, which I'm currently actually flying quite frequently and attempting to actually conduct flights on a regular basis from this airport. It basically has been exceptionally challenging with the fact that non-TEM pilots have to contact the airport manager and attempt to gain these codes. But unfortunately, for one reason or another, the response rate has been exceptionally slow, and in some cases more than a couple of weeks, or basically no access or no contact at all, requiring actually a personal visit to the airport to try and obtain these access codes. And even when going one step further, trying to get an access code, which I have been granted on a couple of occasions, trying to get in advance of that, where I've actually said, hey, the codes I have are now expiring, I need another set of codes. The response, once again, was non-existent. And in fact, almost 2 weeks went by and precipitated me actually requesting to be on this agenda today. Since then, I don't really understand the issue with the airport manager, but certainly his response did appear to be combative, and in fact, almost I would say went so far as to being personal, where I was led to believe that I was even taken off the agenda. In fact, originally I believed I had 20 minutes to talk here today and convey considerably more information. I have taken that up with his manager, and I'll continue to work that process at this point in time. In the meantime, I want to make it very clear that the actions and these changes actually, in effect, prohibit access or minimize certain effort. Now, perhaps that might be the intent of the city of Petaluma, but that would be in violation of your grant obligations. And so what I'm going to simply put, since I'm probably nearing the end of my time, our desired outcome here really is that we're seeking for the City of Petaluma and the Airport Commission to adopt an order that provides pilots, upon request, unlimited key card access, as they do for any other tenant on that airport, so that we can have the same access privileges that we had prior to switching that access. And that we'd be able to do so at times that are applicable to the times when we fly, since predominantly paramotor pilots, which is the form of ultralight that I predominantly fly, typically fly during the first 2 to 4 hours of sunlight and the last 2 to 4 hours of the end of the day. So that falls well outside of the standard operating hours of the airport management or when it is properly staffed. This is a practice, by the way, that I'll mention that other airports have fairly adopted. I have also been informed by not only the airport manager, but by also the city manager that, their concern is against potential liability and public safety of this airport. But once again, these appear, for all intensive purposes, to be new roadblocks that the city has created that didn't previously exist at the time when when punch code access was available. And so, in effect, by switching that code over and now actually requiring to call in advance or actually try and make an arrangement substantially in advance, which of course if weather doesn't sustain the ability for us to fly at certain times, that is in fact problematic. So the actions as they stand today are in fact actually unjust, discriminatory between aeronautical units, which would also be in violation of the regulation. So at this point in time, and due to the lack of progress that's been made up to date, I was forced to actually file a report with the FAA, and this is now the second complaint that the city is having to deal with, which the FAA is now actively investigating as a result of some of its practices here. So this is a very solvable solution, and I firmly believe that if the city takes action very quickly and provides those access cards so that access is not prohibited or diminished and is restored to what it was before in line with the regulations, then we won't have a problem. There is no requirement for transient pilots of any kind to provide notice to an airport prior to arriving at it or gaining access to it. So once again, if you are setting up any situation where that occurs, you're going to be in violation. I might point out that there are several other civil violations or the potential for civil violations as well as economic violations by those current practices. I have been informed by the airport manager a few times that, we won't have a problem if you buy a tie-down. Well, that's an economic action that wasn't previously there. So that would create something that is outside of the obligations
Chair, we've
that were
reached the
originally
time.
Yeah, I understand. Is that, okay.
The main point is that we're looking for the airport to properly restore our action and not be obligated to contact him to gain access at any one point to make it happen.
Got it. Thank you very much. So unfortunately, because this item wasn't on the agenda tonight, we can't discuss it, but I will say that I believe we have an operations subcommittee. There is an operations subcommittee meeting scheduled for July, I believe is the next one. Since we moved to every other month, we did say, since there wasn't typically enough items on the agenda to have a meeting every month, if something did come up, that we would be able to potentially put a meeting together to discuss items of importance. So we can also discuss potentially putting one together for June if that's something that we have other items to put on the agenda. So we can be in contact with you, and if you'd like to be a part of a operations meeting, we can certainly do that to discuss it further.
Very much appreciate
So.
that. I have other airport, other pilots that will most likely take this gentleman as one of the pilots and active with that 5 pilots and so forth that are members of that group would be happy to.
Thank you. All right, go ahead and move on here to just. Oh, we got one more speaker card. Thank you, Mr. Mangan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ron Mangan, Mangan Aircraft and Pilot Training Center. First off, I want to commend Dan and his crew. The airport is looking great. Everything is running smooth. It's very nice, and all of the staff and everything are very, very pleasant and very helpful to both myself, employees, and customers. And so I want to commend them on that. And then second, just to comment on the previous gentleman's comments, and I'll go to that operations meeting also, is flying and being at the airport is a privilege. And so it comes privileges, comes costs and restrictions and whatnot. And does not sound like it's a transient situation. If you're using the airport that much, you're a tenant. And so it's time to put skin in the game and buy a tie down or get the group together and get a hangar and have a club at the hangar. This insurance, I'm concerned because, recent events, last year, airplane flew into one of my storage hangars. Luckily, that guy was a tenant and we had, he had insurance. So I know everything is covered on that. At any given time, I got multi-million dollars worth of airplanes parked on my maintenance ramp. And so, once again, somebody having free and unlimited access or something happens, I want to know, we got checks and balances, we got insurance, who's coming through that gate. So I commend Dan on standing his ground on this and running like an airport and running like a business and watching out for the tenants and for the businesses at the airport. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to presentations. Looks like we have a representative from Beaver Avionics here this evening.
First time I've ever been in front of a group of people just because I want to lease a hangar. So what is it that you want to know?
I believe the commissioners had some questions about the services you offer and just overall, just let us know about your business.
I've been in the aviation business for 24 years at Sonoma County, but I've been at Sonoma County since 1966. But I've been in the aviation business full-time for the last 24 years. And I just purchased a avionics shop. I swore I'd never purchase one, but I did. So it's in Red Bluff, and I have to move it to Sonoma County somewhere close to my business. And you can't have two dealers at the same airport, Garmin that is, and that's what everybody's after is a Garmin dealership, which I have. But so we're looking for a place locally that has a long-term lease that we can operate. And basically what we do is we do 90% of the work that we do is on our own aircraft. We're open to the public, but we don't go after business. We're here to make money. And we make money, we charge a lot of money, we work on a specific aircraft. We distribute these aircraft throughout the world. There's 115 of them that were built. And there's 19 of them at my facility in Santa Rosa right now. So we do a lot of upgrades to them. They're turbine-powered aircraft. They're aircraft that was built from 78 to 1983. There were 834 of them built, and we've converted 115 of them so far. And but avionics is an Achilles heel. But in order to get it done the way you want to get it done, you kind of basically have to do it yourself. So I'm at your mercy.
I just have one question
Just
for you.
looking for a home.
Assuming we were able to move this forward, what's your timeline like as far as being able to open up your operation?
What is the time frame?
Are you ready to move immediately, or is this something that you're looking at?
We're in operation right now, but it's a long haul to Red Bluff. We do have the availability in our standard operating booklet with the FAA. The manual allows us to do work at a different location other than Red Bluff, but we have to finish the product at Red Bluff. So in order for us to do the original sign off for the work that we do, we have to go to Red Bluff. So we're doing it in Santa Rosa right now, and we're working in Red Bluff, but Red Bluff is like 92 nautical away. So we're looking for Petaluma, and the traffic doesn't really bother us because we're in the air. Bothered me today. Took me 45 minutes to get here.
All right, do you guys have any questions?
No questions, but it sounds like a great opportunity for the airport to have an avionics shop back again. And I think if you can work with Dan, he knows the process of getting potential lease set up for that hangar, as well as making sure that you've got the business license for Petaluma insurance and all that other stuff, and help you work through that process, and all comes to good. I think it'll be a great asset for the airport.
Yeah. I've been self-employed since 1973, and I've never had a business license, but I've never worked within the bowels of the city. So
Easy to go.
yeah, but anyhow, that's what we do, and we're not going to alienate people, local people. I mean, we'll help them out if we can, but that's not what we're really after. We do jobs that are $150,000 to $200,000 worth of avionics, and a lot of general aviation airplanes here in Petaluma. Not all of them, but most of them are not even worth that much money. So, but we're here to help too.
One more question. Would you guys be able to perform the static inspections and transponder inspections?
Of course. Yeah.
That's something that would be a huge asset to the airport. Obviously, that's something that's
Yeah.
needed on a regular basis. So
Yeah, we do pedostatics and transponder testing and installation of complete panels. We build our own panels. We do everything ourselves. We're self-contained. We don't sub anything out.
all right. Well, I appreciate the info. And were we looking for any action on this to move this to city council, or what would be the next step to?
No, we've moved from leases to licenses. Licenses don't require council approval. So we have a license in place, a framework of boilerplate. We provide that to Beaver. And when they're ready to sign or ask for modifications to that agreement, we'll work those through. So yeah, we're on their time frame at this point. We've given them everything, and we'll move as fast as they can. So.
Yeah. We have about 10 employees, technicians at our facility in Santa Rosa right now. And at Santa Rosa, it's a little bit different deal because in Santa Rosa, I own my own hangar and I lease 3 acres of ground from the county. But it's, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing it. But one thing I learned young in life is that you like what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. So,
All right. Well, thank you for the information, and
all right.
I don't think we have any objections. So
Do we have to come back here like every 12 months and plead our case, or?
every month to keep the doors open. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on to approval of minutes from the May 4th meeting. And I had one correction. I noticed in here there was a comment I had made, I guess, about the obstacle departure procedure off of 2-9 regarding the trees. I know it says here, I was wondering if the ODP existed because of the trees, and I know that's not the case. I might have been referring to a NOTAM of some kind that changed the minimums or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know it wasn't just for the existence of the ODP itself, so I just wanted to clarify that. But other than that, I didn't have anything. Did you guys?
I had one on page 4, the 5th paragraph down. There is 4 initials. It's OAPA. It should be AOPA. Okay, that's Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. Otherwise, the other one is I don't know what it is, but AOPA would be correct. That was my only change.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Nancy or Marcus, do you guys have anything? Good. All right. So we'll go ahead and deem the minutes approved for the May 4th meeting with those 2 corrections. And looks like there was another item on the agenda. The city response to the Part 13 letter. It sounds like that was not ready in time. Is that correct?
No, we've received no communication from the FAA, email, mail, or otherwise. So at this point, we don't have any response. As soon as we do, we will post that on the next meeting. I'm hoping the July commission meeting will have that in hand.
Okay, thank you. Move on to committee comment, commissioner comments. You guys have any?
Well, the
Yep.
project subcommittee is meeting this month, so I don't have an update on that. I would like to mention one thing. It's too bad Barry isn't here this evening, but as I understand it, this is his final airport commission meeting. And he has been on the airport commission since before this airport existed. He was on the original project team that put together the plans back when we were still flying out of Sky Ranch. So it's been 40 years anyway. And this has been his second or third career, I guess. And I just wanted to publicly acknowledge his hard work and dedication to the airport. He taught me ground school back in the day off the old Sky Ranch. So that's when I first met him. And his dedication is just exemplary. And his knowledge and support over the years has been very valuable to the operation.
Thank you, Tom. I'm sure Barry would appreciate that. Sorry he couldn't make it tonight. We'll go ahead and, so the ad hoc committee, I guess that would also be you guys too. Did you guys have any updates? I do have a note here that looks like, I think after the last meeting, you guys were going to meet with the city manager.
Right. Yeah, we met with the city manager, Peggy, and Director of Finance, Corey, and Economic Director, Ingrid. We met with them together here in City Hall. And very fruitful, very positive. Barry and I were able to share a lot of information with them that some points they had not been aware of regarding the application of grant assurances and how they apply and those sorts of things, and how the commission was initially formed to support the airport back in the day. Anyway, also talked about the budgeting process and the master fee schedule. And I mentioned at the last meeting that I would be gathering data on hangar and tie-down rental rates at airports in the local area, and I've got a whole stack of numbers and data and tables here to go through. I haven't had a chance to get through them yet, but we brought up the issue of whether or not the hangar rents and tie-down rates must be tied to whatever the other rates are automatically increased on the rest of the master fee schedule. And they said, no, not necessarily. If we can provide economic data to support an adjustment or not adjustment, as the case may be, fitting within the constraints of the budget we have and the money we have to generate to keep the facility going and viable, they were open to that. So they were totally open to seeing whatever data we can come up with. And as I understood it from what Corey mentioned, finance, they're in the process of starting to put all that together now. So if we provide data and information, that would be worked into the plan. And while we'd still be on the master fee schedule, those rates would not necessarily have to go up by whatever the standard amount is that everything else goes up, recognizing that we are an enterprise fund. So they were all open to that and very positive. So I think overall that was great.
Perfect. Well, thanks for the update. I know that's been kind of a hot topic for the last couple of years, ever since that started. And it is important to recognize that we are an enterprise. There is competition.
Right.
And it is important that we...
Yeah, we have to cover all of our operating expenses and make sure we're in the black every year.
Still
But at the
competitive
same
with-
time, the FAA, one of the grant assurances is related to rates and charges, is that an airport does not generate significantly more surplus revenue than they need to support the grant matches that we might be required or non-fundable projects that we might have. So it's in there. So, and there have been airports in the country where the FAA has taken them to task for a city that was charging exorbitant rates generating money just to put it in the city fund to make the city look better to the detriment of the airport operation, and the FAA came down on them. So that's not our case here, but we just want to make sure we don't end up getting there and end up losing tenants because our rates end up getting too high. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. But again, I've got a stack to go through here, and Rick Dusty supplied me with some good information from some of the foothill airports and those out in the valley too. So there's a lot to go through to try to make sense out of, because in some cases I've got cents per square foot, but I don't know how many square feet. I don't know how big the door opening is on the hangar, so trying to equate apples and pomegranates is going to be kind of fun. Anyway.
All right, well, thanks for the
That's the
update on
update.
that. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and, looks like we'll move on now to staff comment in the airport manager report. Nope. Oh, Councilmember Now, welcome.
I apologize for being delayed, but my students were having their promotion ceremony this afternoon, and then they threw a surprise retirement congratulations to me on top of it. So I rushed over here, changed clothes. But I wanted to give you a council liaison update real fast.
That would be great.
Okay. Since our last airport meeting, we finalized the budget as a council for the 2023-2024 year. And we also started the preliminary for the Caulfield Bridge overpass, which will connect the east side to the west side. So thinking that the airport's on the east side, it might really help because D Street's going to get a little congested. We're having some housing development proposal come into the D Street area, which with construction and the bridge now going up and down so much for boats, it would be helpful to have a crosstown connector on the east side. Since our last meeting, I spoke with the transit, which Dan, I don't remember if you were part of that conversation.
Yes.
That they don't have any needs right at the moment that they see for travelers wanting to use the bus service. So it hasn't been arranged so that we have bus routes from the airport to the downtown or any general area in Petaluma. But if it becomes a necessity in the future and they see that it's a need, then they will add maybe a route. But right now they don't have a need. And right now you cannot call, if you're a pilot and you need a ride, you cannot do that. It's not a service. So I just wanted to let you know that we had discussed it with the correct people at the city. And sorry for that bad news, but if it turns out that we've got people that need that access, we can also maybe go back and ask again. Okay.
Thank you for the update.
One more thing, my question to Dan every month, besides the display day, I know when it is, but the damaged hangar, how is the progress on that? And a pilot in passing told me there's another damaged, I don't know if it's a ramp or something out there that's might be caution taped off or should be caution taped off, that they were wondering when it was going to be repaired or removed. I'm not quite sure where the location was. They sent it to me in passing, and I asked them to email me specifics, and they did not.
Okay. The first item, yes, the project has been assigned. It hasn't been put out to bid yet. We're trying to get movement on this. We're competing against other engineering resources right now, but it has been assigned to an engineer, and my hope is it'll get out. That bid will get out probably after, my guess is after July 1st, but as soon as we can.
So is that for the reconstruction?
That is for the reconstruction of the end, yeah.
Okay.
And then as far as the other item, this is news to me.
Okay.
To my
Maybe I'll
knowledge.
have them send
yeah.
me a picture,
Okay.
a photo of what they're talking about, because I don't know what it is, and I asked them to email me, and they haven't.
Okay. I'm not aware of any safety tape up right now
Okay.
at the airport
Okay.
anywhere.
Or any damaged.
No.
Okay.
But Yes, if you find out, please let me know. as
Okay,
soon as possible.
thank you.
Thanks.
That's what I'll have them do. That's my report.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very
And
much.
again, I apologize for being 5 minutes late.
Appreciate you making it. All right. See, Dan, did you have, there's still some more in there?
Yeah, when we go into the manager report, or did you have a question about some minutes?
No, that, there was one thing. I'll think of it.
Okay. Just going through financials really quick. We're showing till the end of April. We were about, not counting the CIP grants, we were about 1.86 million in revenue and almost identical in expenditures. The CIP grant numbers are a little bit thrown off. Hopefully we can get this corrected by the end of the fiscal year, but we're showing revenue from the FAA essentially of 1.9 million. The 1.9 is more the total project cost for the ramp reconstruction project. We would be getting 90% of that, which is closer to, I think, 1.69 something, closer to 1.7. So our contribution is going to be around 180 to $200,000 for that ramp reconstruction project. That would be provided from the airport fund. The airport enterprise fund would pay for that I guess shortfall, that 10%. So that doesn't really show in that revenue document. But at some point there should be a transfers in from the enterprise fund to take up that difference. So we'll try to get those numbers changed to kind of reflect it. But overall, we are exactly where we should be. I'm hoping to finish the year right at our numbers, maybe a little bit above as far as our operating budget. But from where I'm looking at the end of reports to the end of April, we're doing really well tracking forward. We have received just over $1 million so far for the ramp reconstruction project as far as reimbursements for payments we've already made, that 90% reimbursement. I don't have the exact figure of what's left on that project, but hopefully by the end of summer, we will have that work completed. Then we will ask for that reimbursement, 90% for the remaining of that project. Originally it was a 1.9. I think we're well under that, probably closer to 1.7 or 1.8 for this project.
Yeah, I had one question, Dan, in the revenues. Looking at the property tax that we get from the county, it's
Yes.
way over what we'd estimated.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I totally forgot to.
Does half of that belong to the schools?
I don't know why it is so much bigger this year. I don't really have an explanation for that. I'll inquire and get some
Okay.
answers from the county why it is so much higher. I can't imagine that the existing aircraft on the field appraised for that major of a change. So I don't know why it's so high.
Okay.
It's very helpful, but that number came in way higher than we were expecting.
okay.
So more to follow on that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, sure.
I will say, I know it's been a hot topic with aircraft owners that have had their aircraft reassessed. But I thought the biggest jump was actually in 2021. So I don't know if some of that was delayed, but I know I've definitely seen an increase. So I know that could account for some of it, but again, I don't know about all of it. So. Just the general increase over the last couple of years.
Any other questions about financials? To operations, there's been a lot of questions recently from a lot of different parties about what is the vehicle access gate policy overall. We didn't share this document, so I'm not going to go into detail on the policy, but in general, we limit vehicle gate access, permanent access, to tenants. Pretty much, period. We don't provide permit access unless there is a operational need, critical need, such as the FAA or another entity outside of our organization that has to have access all the time. In every other case, you have to be a tenant. And we have had some inquiries over the years from frequent flyers into the airport that flew in via charter flights that wanted a gate card. They're like, we're here all the time. Why can't we get one? And our best recommendation for folks, especially if you know somebody on the field, is have them sponsor you. Because part of having a gate card and being a tenant is the agreement. We need a legal agreement with everyone that has that gate card. And if we don't have a legal agreement with them, we need some pathway to get there. PAPA members are provided gate cards. They are sponsored by PAPA. PAPA has agreement with us with insurance. And so that is the policy we've had for a long, long time. It's been working really well. We do have temporary gate cards that we do give out, or temporary codes we give out as needed. And that works really well for most charter companies, for contractors that come in occasionally that will use helicopters or their aircraft for their work. All we ask is, in most cases, just ask for their operating dates. And then sometimes it's only a 1 day. We have a banner tow operation that comes in 2, maybe 3 times a year, where they deploy and recover a banner, and they're given temporary access through the code, a temporary code. So that has worked for us up to this point. I think there's always room for improvement, especially when it comes to requests. At some point, it'd be nice to have a much more robust request system. We haven't really needed one in the past, but maybe that's a thing we need in the future if there's going to be more regular requests for access from non-tenants. So that's been our gate policy up to this time. Vehicle gate policy, our pedestrian gate, we most of the aviation community has that code. It does change on occasion, but we don't have any restriction on the pedestrian gate other than just you have to be an aviator or you're involved in some sort of aviation activity, and that gate is available 24/7.
Marcus?
Dan, question.
Yeah.
2 questions, Dan. So who can issue a temporary code? And, and I guess what's the max? So multiple questions. Who can issue it from the time of request? So if I call you today or somebody in the staff, can any of your staff issue those codes, or is it only you? So I guess that's one of the questions. Who can issue it? What's the turnaround time from the request? And can the request be made via phone, or does it have to be via email? And then what's the expected turnaround time? And then I guess finally, is there are the temporary codes only good for a maximum of a week, 10 days? Because I know that's the point of why we've gone to the gate card and with the key access, because the old code, everyone had the code.
Mm-hmm.
People driving by had the code.
Yeah.
So I understand why you're trying to control it, just to understand the process and the timing.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone can request a code either via email, via phone, in person, all the above. All my staff have access to the codes, that especially in a case of emergency or someone just needs access. In most cases, folks ask for access, and there's maybe 3 or 4 days of access on each code in most of those cases, but it all depends, right? We have different codes, different access, different variable times for those depending on need. So we can customize it as needed, but all my staff can provide codes if needed. For people that use the airport a lot, we have more questions and more requirements sometimes for them. We want to know, well, if you're going to be here for extended period, what are you doing? And what are the days you're actually operating on? We try to limit access based on need. And we don't want to unduly restrict anyone. We work really hard not to do that, but we need to tailor it based on the activity. And we don't feel that it is prudent to give non-tenants around-the-clock access for extended periods of time.
Thank you.
Any other questions about that or any operation-related items? So don't have a lot of updates on projects. We were able to complete a biological study for the safety zone improvement by the drainage channel project. So from our next step will be to look to design, trying to regrade, engineer the area around the drain on the other side of the runway, the north east side of the runway, to try to get that whole area to drain better. That way, there will still be plenty of room for expansion when we have rainfall, and make sure that we're not ponding in areas that we should pond in, but allowing that flow, that occasional seasonal creek flow, to go into our culvert system correctly, and not to have standing water outside of our normal rainy season, which has been the case recently. Some of this is the mud has come in from other parcels from upstream, and it's something we want to make a permanent change to make sure that we can protect all the biological life that's currently there, while making sure that that water is still flowing properly, so we don't provide unnecessary and maybe artificial attractants to wildlife. No other updates on the ramp reconstruction, like I said, other than my anticipation is that work will be done by the end of summer. We will be into the next fiscal year, but we're working on just a few last items on the pavement that was provided, and once we work out a couple of things with our contractor, that should get going. I would say probably within the next 30 days. We've been working on it this week as well, so hopefully we start in about 30 days, and then I wouldn't imagine more than about 30 days after that to provide the anchors, solari, and paint for that project. We are moving forward with, we just applied for design grant matching for the reconstruction projects for Taxiway Alpha and Taxi Lane Bravo, the design portion, not the construction, but the design. So we're going through that right now. And hopefully by the end of, I would say, June or July, that process will be complete. I don't know when we would be awarded those. It's a very small amount in comparison to some of our larger projects. I think the design at the biggest would be maybe $150,000, $180,000 at the very most. I think we're probably more in the $50,000 or $60,000 range on those, depending on how the contractor comes in. But we want to take every opportunity to get reimbursement where we can, and those design projects are grant eligible. Any questions about current projects, future projects?
One thing on operations, the question came up about the Two-Niner Diner. My understanding is we're looking at July sometime, perhaps, that the diner will be reopened. Have you heard anything updated?
I can pass on the information I got, Dan. At Display Day, very important day, once a month, and Nate, he came by and he was talking to us and explaining where he's at, and he was pretty emphatic that he was hoping to open sometime in July. He's still doing his current full-time job trying to get that done, but he was very, very positive about getting it open, and as soon as possible. But he felt July, and I think he actually may show up at this month's PAPA meeting. We suggested as well to provide some more details, but that's what it looks like. And I've seen him a couple times. I've been there in the afternoons and evenings. If you see somebody wandering around there, that's Nate getting everything ready.
Thank you for the
Good
update.
news, good news.
Definitely been looking forward to that for a long time.
And he did ask, so one thing, Dan, sorry, forgive me, he did ask if he could put a temporary sign up where we put our display day sign up. If he asked me if I was willing to share that, and I said absolutely. I just need it for the 1 week, but to announce the Two-Niner Diners up there. And I said the other thing is on the display day, if you want to put Two-Niner Diner open like we do with food truck here, I said you're welcome to attach that as well, and we'll do as much in promoting it when we're promoting display day with through the Mothers Club, where Soraya is kind enough to help me with social media. So as soon as we know, we will promote with this display day.
And then we also would have a spot on the new monument sign as well for them now, right?
They've been offered it. All they have to do is provide a design as per the sign policy to the Airport Commission for approval. So we're just waiting for that. I was hoping to rush it either last meeting or this meeting, but they haven't provided that yet. So as soon as they do, we'll get that rushed to you for approval. And as far as the sign, we suggested contacting Papa to try to get space on that temporary sign. We could probably put something up elsewhere, maybe on the fence or something, just to get one more thing. If we can get like one of their banners or something, just to let everybody know. But we're looking to go wide with this. We'd like to get some media attention on it. We might be able to do a little bit of advertising on the site for it, just to let people know and push that out as far as possible so they have a really good start. I think that's part of the intent, is use the summer season to launch this. That way there's a lot of interest in tying it in with display day as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Can you put it on the airport website?
Yes.
29er, because, well, you know, without, it's very popular for fly-ins.
We can. It's not going to get the same traffic that other sites might get. I'm going to look into seeing if we can. We could definitely post it on the city site, announcing it. I don't know how much more promotion we can do as far as trying to advertise that and push it out further, but we'll do everything we can. And yeah, we're committed all the way. Whatever they need, we're gonna get this open.
Well, and we need to know the times and you know, it's usually breakfast and lunch and which days of the week.
He was thinking that it would remain, when they start, similar to what they did with a Wednesday through Sunday type.
Okay.
But he was hoping to be open more, and he was even thinking about the possibility of a dinner service.
Oh.
But again, he's going to start small and work his way up.
So he's thinking July 1st?
He didn't know July 1st. He was hoping July. He was hoping to be
Mid-July.
open for by display day in July. And Mike,
I don't
so
know
that
what
would be
day
the
that is.
third Saturday of the month.
I know it's the third Saturday. I just
Sorry, I
don't
had-
have my calendar.
All right,
I don't have my calendar in front of me.
bear with me.
the 21st,
Is it-
21st,
Okay, the 21st.
It's too bad that they're missing Father's Day.
Saturday, 22nd. Oh, wait, 15th, sorry, Saturday.
Yeah, the 15th is a Saturday, so that's the
Yep.
display day.
The 15th.
Saturday, in July.
And then in June, it's before Father's Day, isn't it?
That's
I'm
the
looking.
18th,
That's the Sunday.
Sunday, right?
Yeah, so Saturday, 17th.
Yeah, so we should really promote that. Oh, no, it's after Father's Day, no? Yeah, no, it is. It's the 17th.
So Father's Day is the 17th of June, and then he's looking at a 16th of July opening,
Right.
so a month later.
But we should really take your dad to the airport. I know my dad will be out there on the 17th, the display days. The day before Father's Day.
Yeah, but there won't be, the 29er won't be open.
No, but
we'll
we'll
have a
have,
food truck,
we'll have
food truck.
and then he could possibly do some pre-promotion.
Yeah, maybe you can put a banner up
Yeah.
in front.
And didn't he
with
used
a-
to have a sign in the front?
He did. There used to be. There
A
was
wooden,
they had their 29er diner
Yeah.
sign, and then there was also, I think they also had a banner on the
Yeah.
fence as well. But yeah, they could that would be great to put something up with expected opening. So if he comes to the Papa meeting,
All right, well, we'll definitely look forward to that, because that's been a long time coming, so wish them all the best. And then actually, Dan, I had one question for you here. So it looks like last time you said there were, I think, on the insurance for the hangars, there were, or just tenants in general, there were about 20 individuals that didn't have it. Did you have an update on?
I believe that's correct. Yeah, I'd have to ask my admin, but I think we're down to under a dozen. Of course, they add and subtract every week, depending on policy cancellation dates. So very common. Someone doesn't provide us with the new policy or their new COI, certificate of insurance. It expires. They still have a certificate. They just haven't provided it to us. So, but I think we're right, either 10 or 11 or something like that. I think that's about half that number. We've been able to cut most of those, even the ones that have been an issue for a long time. The airport administrative assistant's been working very hard on all these with the help of risk management. We've been able to clear a lot of them out. So kudos.
Sounds good. And then to Mr. Ashton's point regarding some of the safety-related issues, I know last time we talked about the fact that runway 29 wasn't designated in the AFD or the chart supplement as the common runway. I think we're going to look into that as far as the publication requirements to put that in there. I know that doesn't address all the items, but it certainly is one thing that may help, especially on those days where the winds can kind of be relatively calm in the wintertime. So do you have an update on
We'll move forward with it. We were looking for any other comment. We got a couple comments from the flight school and a couple from some tenants, including some interest in making 1-1 the calm wind runway. But overall, what we keep hearing is the preference is 2-9, and so we'll move forward with that.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you. You guys have anything else before we close it out? We good? All right. Well, let's. Oh, good. Right at 1 hour, 7:01. Go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.